Alice Marean, and I was born in Fallon, Nevada, raised on a ranch, and did all the chores that we normally do with the ranch. I went to grade school and high school in Fallon, then went to college and got a Bachelor of Science degree in home economics, and I have my certificate for teaching, and I taught everything from 6th grade on up through adults. And adult education was my favorite. Christmas was celebrated rather simply on the ranch. My mother always wanted to go down to California to her mother, so we celebrated Christmas sometimes a week early as the family, and then she would take me and sometimes my brother too down to my grandparents in California, where we would have a maybe week to 10 days visit. I can't say that they were always the best because I was little and knew nobody, and I had no one to play with, and it rained. And that's not the best thing for a little kid. Was married a couple of years out of college. From that, I had 4 great kids. My daughter's the oldest. She now has her practice in optometry in Idaho. And she gave me 2 grandkids. And they gave me 2 more grandkids. My eldest son decided he didn't want to have a family. His health was not, he was diabetic, and he didn't want to impose that onto children. But he was a banker and was very successful in it. My other son is in California with the Guard and with Homeland Security. And his second marriage was to a Chinese girl who had 5 children. So all of a sudden, I had acquired 5 more grandchildren. And my son had 2, so that made 7 from that family. Then my next son, we lost. He did marry a Canadian girl who had 2 children, and they're my grandkids. So I have an international extended family. And I now have 13 blood-connected grandkids. But my great-grandchildren, of my grandchildren, a couple of them have married a girl who has had another child, or had a child before they had children. So it goes on, extended on and on and on. And this year, I kind of went all out for the grandkids in California and hand-painted an ornament for each of the great-grandchildren, which will have their name, and they will be able to put it on their own tree. And then I made also some little toys, which I'm sending to my son, and he will have to supervise their playing with them. But I'm sure if they get to the great-grandchildren, he may just keep them himself. And I just had a nice visit from my daughter, coming from a business meeting in California, stopped over for 2.5 days, and we had a very delightful visit. Last summer, my son from California and his wife came up for hot August nights, so I had quite a wild time with them. So we do have a lot of fun, a lot of interaction. The kids are very great to me, take very good care of me, and see that I have supplies for months ahead so I won't get hungry or whatever. We just finished laying in another 6 months supply of things for my apartment. I won't see any of them on Christmas, but that's all right. They have their own homes and their own children, and that's great. I know I'll be there in spirit. And I guess that's about it about the family. I was divorced on our 44th wedding anniversary. My husband decided he had other things he wanted to do. So he has since gone on in his career, now lives in Hawaii. But I still live here in Reno, and I love it. I like the desert and the mountains and the lakes. They're favorite spots for me. I guess that's about what I can say for right now. After graduation, I went back to Fallon and stayed on the ranch. My only brother was in Pearl Harbor, so I felt I should stay there with the family. I taught school for a year and a half, And part of that time I drove school bus, being outside of town. And that was quite interesting. Then after returning to, well, they took pictures of all of the teachers at Oaks Park School when I taught there. I think there were 13. And after coming back to Reno, maybe 20 years later, we came across one of the pictures. We put them in the museum down in Fallon. Later, my son had his 2 boys up here. We took them down to the museum because his aunt had also had some things on display. And so I showed them the picture of their mother, of their grandmother. They were pretty impressed. Grandma was old enough to be in the museum. And they really got a kick out of that. And my teaching, then when at night school was the fun. I really enjoyed it. I could handle up to about 18 students. I was teaching 2 nights a week. They were adults, especially nice to teach because they wanted to learn and they appreciated everything you taught them. I did that for about 15 years, and then I had to quit for a few years because of a health problem. When Incline High School, junior, senior high school opened at Lake Tahoe, we went up and my husband taught full-time, and I taught half-time for 2 years. After that, we went up to Canada for a few years. The marriage eventually dissolved and I moved back to Reno. Had my own sewing business for maybe 10 years. Alteration to special custom sewing. Did 1 wedding, which I was quite proud of. And then after that, eventually I came to live at the manor, and I have been here now a little over 5 years. I feel like one of the seniors. It's been a great experience. I've met very wonderful people, interesting people, made great friends, and it is now home. And I hope to stay here as long as I can.